I never thought my own words about freedom would lead to official papers on the table. Yet that is exactly where I ended up staring at a neat stack of documents, while my husband Gareth stood calm and unshaken, as if everything had already been decided. Long ago. My name is Celine Varro. I am 32 years old, and I work as a retail manager, spending most days dealing with schedules, complaints, and endless routines that always made me feel invisible at home. Gareth is 35, a civil engineer, steady, serious, and patient, but in my eyes too predictable, too rigid, and far too content with the ordinary life I wanted to escape. We have 2 children, Ella, who is 8, and Simon, who is 5, and they still believed we were the strong family everyone admired, though cracks had been spreading like shadows across every room. I told myself that enjoying attention from other men was simply normal, harmless fun, without any real love involved, and that I deserved it because I worked hard and looked good and needed validation Gareth could no longer give me. My sister Phoebe encouraged me and said, men who complain about such things are insecure, and that wives today should not be chained by old rules. His parents, on the other hand, looked at me with cold suspicion, as if they already knew I was preparing to shatter everything they valued. For months I convinced myself I was modern and brave, while dismissing Gareth as old-fashioned, but I had no idea his silence was not weakness, but strategy. Now I sit, remembering how proud I felt when people laughed at my claims about freedom, not realizing he was quietly collecting proof and preparing a storm I never saw coming. It started one late evening in our living room when Gareth asked why I always kept my phone glued to my hand and why I stayed awake smiling at messages long after he had gone to bed. I told him he was imagining problems and insisted that modern women deserved admiration from more than one source, and that casual conversations with other men were not dangerous but simply normal in today's world. He looked disappointed, but I claimed his reaction proved he was insecure, while my sister Phoebe laughed when I repeated the story later and said he needed to loosen up. His parents, however, gave me sharp looks during Sunday dinner when Gareth remained quiet, and I brushed it off, saying he was sulking about nothing. I enjoyed the secret thrill of watching my phone buzz, with Milo's name appearing on the screen, while pretending Gareth was too boring to notice anything. That night I left my phone on the counter by accident, and when I returned, I saw him holding it with unreadable eyes as notifications flashed. At a restaurant gathering with friends and family, I decided to turn the tension into entertainment by making Gareth the punchline, because I loved the way attention shifted toward me. I told stories about how he frowned whenever my phone buzzed, and I claimed he acted like an old man trapped in another century while everyone at the table laughed. Phoebe encouraged me by saying Gareth should be grateful his wife was still desired, and she raised her glass, while others giggled uncomfortably. His parents sat stiff with their forks untouched, while Gareth kept silent with his eyes fixed on the tablecloth. I felt powerful describing myself as liberated, while making him appear controlling and insecure in front of people who once respected him. The more I boasted about harmless freedom, the more I convinced myself that everyone agreed with me. Then, without warning, Gareth pushed his chair back, stood up and walked out of the restaurant, leaving behind a silence that felt heavier than the laughter. Back at work, I slipped further into my double-life messaging Milo during breaks, and even stopping by his bar, where he poured drinks with a grin that made me feel noticed in a way Gareth never did anymore. I told myself it was still harmless, since there was no love, only fun, and I repeated that line often enough that Phoebe believed me completely. At home, Gareth moved through the rooms like a shadow, never raising his voice and never asking questions, which I spun to the children as their father sulking again. Ella once asked timidly if she had upset him, and I laughed it away, claiming he was simply tired and boring while hiding the truth from her wide eyes. I felt untouchable until one evening, Gareth calmly asked for full oversight of our bank accounts, saying he wanted to simplify our finances. I accused him of being controlling, yet the certainty in his tone unsettled me in a way I could not explain. That night, I stared at his quiet figure and felt a chill I refused to name. During a family birthday dinner with both sides present, I decided once again to parade my confidence by boasting that I was too desired to ever be tied down by one man. Friends and relatives gave nervous laughs while Phoebe clapped and declared I was simply modern, while Gareth's parents looked humiliated at the table. I insisted Gareth should feel lucky that I always came home at all, and I painted him as dull for never joining in the excitement. The children sat quietly, sensing the tension, while I laughed louder to cover the discomfort spreading across the room. Later, as we left, I kept telling myself he was too timid to challenge me directly, and that everyone secretly admired my boldness, even if they pretended otherwise. But when I glanced across the street, I froze completely, because there was Gareth calmly stepping out of a law office with a folder tucked under his arm. In that moment, I felt a crack open in the certainty I had built. The next evening, Gareth asked me to sit at the kitchen table, where he laid a thick folder in front of me without raising his voice or showing anger. I expected another dull budget list, but inside were printed transcripts of my conversations with Milo, and others, complete with dates and screenshots, that proved nothing had been hidden from his eyes. Alongside the messages were hotel receipts and financial records, highlighted in neat lines, showing exactly how far I had taken my supposed harmless fun. I tried insisting it was only play, and claimed he was destroying the family over nothing, but he remained calm while his parents sat nearby, watching silently. The children had already been sent upstairs, though I could feel Ella peeking through the railing with frightened eyes. I accused Gareth of betrayal for turning my own words into weapons, yet he simply slid another envelope across the table. Inside were divorce filings and custody requests, already signed, leaving me speechless. In court, I tried to defend myself by saying everything I had done was harmless, and that there was never love involved, only fun that did not mean anything beyond a moment. I told the judge Gareth was twisting normal behavior into betrayal because he was too boring to keep my attention, and I claimed that modern relationships allowed more freedom than old-fashioned rules. Gareth did not argue loudly or try to humiliate me further because he let his lawyer present each screenshot receipt and record with calm precision that left no space for my excuses. The courtroom felt smaller with every page turned, and I could sense the disappointment in the faces around me, especially his parents who sat straight with quiet pride in their son. Phoebe avoided my eyes completely, and for the first time I realized even she could no longer pretend my story made sense. The judge listened carefully, but it was clear the evidence outweighed my defenses, and soon the decision was read with words that stripped me of control. Gareth was granted primary custody and financial authority, leaving me with nothing but my own voice echoing uselessly inside the silent room. He stood tall without looking at me, and I finally understood that his revenge was patience, executed through dignity and lawful action, while I was left staring at the pieces of my broken certainty. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city are you watching.